What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are getting around to it. It's been quite a while. This is going to be our look back / full review of House of Danger by Z-Man Games, designed by Prospero Hall. This is the first of the Choose Your Own Adventure series games. Now, we did review this. It's been about, 2 years now?
One of the first that I did with you, I think.
I don't think it's one of the first, but it was soon after. So it's been about 2 years since we got this to the table. We hadn't finished it then, and we just did a full replay of the game. Now I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who's going to tell you more about the game itself.
So it's a cooperative adventure card game, Choose Your Own Adventure.
More of a storytelling game, but it uses cards. Lots of cards.
Yes, you have to read a lot.
Yes.
It is intended for one or more players, ages 10 and above, but Jason and I have talked about it. I think you can do lower. You could play with much younger, actually. Even if they can't read, they could be part of the decision. There's a couple of scary scenes, so it's up to you what you want to expose your children to. There's some ghosts and things like that. But
I'd say you're probably good around the 6 to 7 range at the lowest.
Yeah, maybe a little older if they get scared easily.
Now, what are you doing in Choose Your Own Adventure? Well, as Julie said, you're going to be reading lots of cards. So this is a story game. You're going to be going through the story of the game. You will be making choices, trying to overcome challenges by rolling a 6-sided dice. And you'll also be going up your psychic scale because that's going to improve your outcome. And then you're going to get to the final chapter and get one of the endings for the game. Now, we're not going to be taking a look at the components. We're going to go right into our discussion of the game. But if you'd like to see more about it and our initial thoughts, there's a card popping up right over Julie's head. It'll take you back to our review and how to play of Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger from 2 years ago. So let's get into it. Now that we've played other games and you've been on this channel for 2 years, what did you think of revisiting House of Danger? Does it hold up? Do you still like it?
Well, I don't think I can't remember my score. We've reviewed so many games, but I don't think I gave it that high a score.
I think it was around the 7 mark or so.
Yeah, so now if I were to review it based on all the other games, I don't think I would give it a 7. It took us 2 years to get this back to the table, and I don't know how many different places Jason has carried this game, hoping that we will play it, because one of the advantage of this game is its small size, and the fact that it doesn't take a lot of room on a table. You could play this, and I think we said this in the initial review, you can play it, on a plane, on a train. Kids could play it in the backseat of a car if they don't get car sick reading.
No, and even the board, which is something that does take up a fair bit of room. If you're, let's say, at a convention, you could almost just draw your own copy of the board and have a notebook as you're marking down what you're doing, and playing this like in line is something that is very possible.
Yeah. So that being said, we carried it around a bunch of places. We've taken it down to the Caribbean, and it, never.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't actually get it out in the Caribbean. Not even a chapter. No. That, and when we went on our vacation last year at the cottage, I was like, well, this is the easy thing. We can play like an hour before bed. No, we ended up playing other games. We were way into Thunderstone's Quest. We were playing Imperial Assault, and that just took up all our time.
So that goes to show you, I think, that it really didn't impress us that much the first time around, and we were hoping that maybe we'd just get in the zone. I think the choice of words I'm about to make are going to give an indication. We plowed through it last weekend. We decided we were going to do it, and we just made a point of getting through the game, and that to me is the shame. It's just not that great. I'm going to disagree with you there. I don't want to say that the game is not that great.
I'm going to say that the game captures the book Choose Your Own Adventure perfectly. That being said, if you're a fan of those Choose Your Own Adventure books, you're going to get exactly what you're expecting. But those books themselves weren't that great. And the gameplay does nothing to improve on it. Having the roll dice for challenges is fun, but I mean, this is really a thin skin over what is essentially just the Choose Your Own Adventure book adapted into a game.
I guess my biggest frustration, I would say, because I did enjoy the Choose Your Own Adventure, but the same thing I hated about the Choose Your Own Adventure is the same thing that happens in this game that I dislike, is that you're kind of led down a path that ends in death.
Yeah, it can happen just randomly. You think you're making the right choices, and the next thing you know,
and if anything, we followed a clue that seemed pretty obvious that we should be following that clue, and then we got to, the end. So that to me was frustrating. We play a lot of different types of games, and there can be bad things that happen, but rarely do you just all out die and that's the end and you'd have to start over again.
That's exactly the choose your own adventure experience. So the one thing I would say is that, sorry, not the one thing, as I just mentioned, it does capture the experience very well, but coming back to it, I do think that it really doesn't hold up. And I'm beginning to notice a problem with this whole choose your own adventure series, and the fact that these are $30 boxes that you essentially have to get. Well, $30 to $40 Canadian. I think they're a lot cheaper in US. We've played Time Stories now, and after having played Time Stories and seeing just the way that you're able to change some things up, also really appreciating how the new version of Time Stories, the Hadal project, whereas you don't have the board and things like that, but you're still getting this great and beautiful art, you're paying about the same price, at least in Canada, for this as you are for something like the Hadal project. So I think Time Stories almost does it just like a little bit better in terms of that exploration, having your different characters, having different abilities. And I've heard that the second game, the encounter with the evil Power Master, is different because it actually has more replayability. You can pick different starting points, and they really adapted it more into a game. But this doesn't really feel like a game. It feels like a book turned into a game with just little touches. And sorry, if you want to jump in, I wanted to make one last point about Time Stories.
Well, I was just going to say, the point I want to make on this is just like a book, and you touched on replayability. That's one of the things for me. We waited 2 years. My short-term RAM memory of things like this, normally the details kind of just, they're not important, so I don't remember them. In this case, I could remember story points and decisions we made. So there is very little replayability to this.
Yes, especially in this one. That's why I wanted to talk about the other one. I've heard some different commentary on it. It's possible that we'll pick it up at some point if we can find it used. Definitely won't be picking up new. This game, unfortunately, will be making its way out of our collection. It's just not something that I think we want to revisit, with the fact that the replayability is low. That being said, if you're looking for a fun, great travel game, some of the comments that we made originally, it still holds up in that respect. You can play it on a plane, play it on a train, and it's good for playing with younger children. I really wish, though, that we maybe had a choose your own adventure game, a bigger box that came with House of Danger, and they sort of copied that Time Stories model of being able to buy just the deck of cards, which I think in terms of what you're getting here and the art, maybe they're paying a lot more for licensing, I don't know, but you should be able to fairly cheaply buy expansions and really sort of build up your collection. I think that one of the reasons why I don't look at this as favorably as I used to is really the price point and the price points I've seen of the subsequent games. And I can't imagine having a shelf full of choose your own adventure games that, depending on how they're developed and the story, may only be, like one and done.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same for me. I mean, this definitely, I think needs to leave the collection. I say definitely. I'm being very difficult on it. But, if you look at the amount of games that we have and that we play, for us, this is a one and done. We played it. I think it's time for it to pass on to somebody else who can enjoy it, and make room for another game that we might be able to replay a little bit more often.
No, and that's something that's happening to us now as we're reviewers and we have this large board game collection. We are working through some of the games that are unfinished. We're also working through games on our shelf of shame, and we're trying to get a nice cycling in and out of the collection. And we got to keep some games that, they might end up in storage. There's a few that have our little man's name on it or be perfect for him that we don't exactly love, but those ones are going to hang around a little bit longer, a few years longer than they probably should. It's just that in terms of this one, it's not even something that I think I'd be really excited to take out and play with him. There's other games that I'd rather have him experience before this one. So I know we're being a little hard on this one. It is still a great adaptation of Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger. If you love the series, so check it out. But just seeing the way games have developed even over the past 2 years, I really think that this one doesn't hold up. If you're a fan of the Evil Power Master game, because it's a little different, and I've gotten some comments on that, then love to hear your thoughts as to how that differs, especially if you've played both of them. So what's your score for this now, Julie? We might as well rescore it during our revisit.
It's a 5.5 for me.
I give this one a 5, actually. I'm going lower than you. That's rare.
I guess I feel like I shredded it already enough.
So,
It's in the 5 levels.
so this is the first of our look backs that we're going to be doing on Dice and Dragons with the launch of the new expansion for the Reckoners, which is one of the games that we have previously really enjoyed. Hopefully we're not going to be nearly as hard on it as we are on House of Danger. You can expect to see that. We'll be doing a few more look backs afterwards as well, as we try to sort of clean up our shelves and do something a little different on the channel instead of just unboxings on Tuesdays and give you a little bit more content. So Julie, what time is it now?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Isn't it time to do something first?
Yeah. Okay. It's time to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you.
And also down below in the video description, you'll find links to all of our social media feeds: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see some pictures from House of Danger and from the Reckoners, well, we got some old pictures there. There'll be some new ones coming. Plenty of stuff for you to enjoy on all those feeds. And then popping up in front of us, you're going to have links to some of our previously released videos. The one in front of me is going to take you back to our most recently released one. And the one in front of Julie will be a second chance for you to go back and hear our original thoughts on Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger.
Now it's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
We're going to keep playing games.
And to keep playing games. I mean, we could do a revisit of Kick-Ass, the board game, if you wanted to do something that was savage.
I think I was thirsty.